Hello my friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another Foodie Friday Cook With Me. I am super excited to bring you today's meal. Today we are making a comfort classic here in my house. This is a meal I make when we've had a tough day, if one of my kiddos just needs a little extra love and the family needs to come beside them. This is like that good old-fashioned comfort food. But let's not get that twisted. I make it all the time, whether everybody's had a great day or not. So today we're gonna make some pan-fried panko crusted chicken. We're also gonna be making some homemade mac and cheese, which is an old family recipe of my husband's family. And we're also gonna be making a delicious side salad for when you can't figure out what kind of vegetable you wanna do and you just need to throw something together quickly and you need to have something green on the plate. A salad is the easiest way to do it. So if you're here for it, go ahead and grab a piece of paper so you can write things down as we go. I can't guarantee I'm gonna have a recipe for you. I'll try to put down as much as I can in the description box. If you guys ever have questions about any of the things that I'm sharing or cooking, please don't hesitate to let me know. A lot of this stuff comes from the top of my head. It's things that have been passed down that I've learned how to cook that I don't always have a recipe for. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to let me know. And without further ado, let's get into the good old-fashioned comfort foods. We're gonna get started today by making the homemade mac and cheese, and we're starting with that because it needs to bake in the oven. So we're gonna get that going here on the stove, and then we will make our salad and have that ready to go on the side, and then we're also going to get our chicken done. Our chicken will be the last thing that we do, so it's nice and fresh, and everything should be able to be plated at the same time. So let's go ahead and get started with the homemade mac and cheese. Okay, to get us started, we're gonna get our water boiling. So I've already got water in the pot, I've got the lid on, and I've got the heat on. Now we're gonna start with 4 tablespoons of butter, and we're gonna put this in a large cooking skillet. So this is what we're going to saute our onions in, and we're eventually gonna turn this into a roux. A roux is just melted butter and flour, and it's just a thickening agent for when you're cooking. So we're gonna get started by dicing up a onion. Now, if your family is not super into onion flavor, which mine 100% is, but if yours is not, one way to get the onion flavor in there without anybody having to bite into onion is to grate it. So that's something you can do if you want to have the onion flavor but don't want to bite into the onion. Grab a cheese grater and use the side that has the smallest holes and grate your onion so that way when you put it into your food, it just kind of blends in versus actually getting a bite of the onion. My family likes the onion, so I dice it. I don't dice it up super duper small. It's definitely not a mince. It's just a good dice, and we saute it so it's nice and sweet, and it just adds a really delicious flavor in every bite. So that's completely up to you and what you want to do. But mincing it up or using the cheese grater to grate it up will give you the flavor but without the bite. So we're going to get this into our butter. We're going to let this saute until it's clear and soft and very, very fragrant in your house. This is always how my family knows, okay, mom has started cooking because the first thing they typically smell is the onion. I think I put onion in pretty much everything because it's just absolutely delicious. Speaking of grating, while our onion is sauteing, we're going to go ahead and start grating our cheese. Now, this recipe calls for a really good amount of cheese. It calls for 2 cups of cheese. However, I always do more than that. I just don't feel like the 2 cups is enough. So I typically use 1.5 to 2 of these blocks of cheese. Now it's completely up to you. You can do more or less. This recipe I've known, I just know it's by the back of my hand now, so I just kind of improvise, but it's going to be completely up to you on what you want. The recipe I think calls for 2 cups of cheese, but like I said, I think I probably end up putting in like anywhere from 20 to 24 ounces of cheese. It's always better when you have a lot of cheese. So just go by what your family decides. Today I decided to put in 2 whole blocks. So just go by what your family likes. So once your onions have sauteed and they're nice and, opaque, you're going to go ahead and add in 4 tablespoons of flour, which also equates to 1/4 cup. So we're adding that in, I'm mixing it in, and it's going to make a little bit of a paste. And now we're going to let this just kind of cook for a minute, and that's just so that it cooks out that starchy flavor of the flour. Now I'm going to check our water, which is boiling, and we're going to toss in our pasta. For today's recipe, we're going to be using elbow macaroni. So first I'm salting the water, and then we're going to pour in a 16-ounce box of macaroni. I also turned on the oven because we are going to be baking this mac and cheese to get it nice and yummy and gooey. And I'm checking on my roux, just kind of moving it around so the butter doesn't burn. And you only need to cook this for like 2 or 3 minutes, again, just to kind of get out that starchy flavor. I'm cooking everything on medium high, by the way. Now we're going to add in a couple dashes of ground mustard. It's probably like a tablespoon or a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half. This is always like the secret ingredient in any mac and cheese, just gives it a really delicious flavor. So make sure you do not skip the ground mustard, and it's not spicy or anything like that, just gives it a really delicious full flavor. And we're stirring our pasta. And then we're going to come back and add in our milk. So as you can see there, we've got our roux is nice and, combined and ready to go. We're going to add in 2 cups of milk. Now, in my house, we use whole milk, but it's up to you what you would like to use. You could use a low fat or a fat-free if that floats your boat. And you're going to go ahead and whisk this in. You're just going to break up all of that roux into the milk, and you're going to keep this on medium high and bring it up to a light simmer. While you're doing that, make sure you're keeping an eye on your pasta. You want your pasta to be al dente, which means mostly cooked. It's still got a little bit of a bite to it. Here's our milk. As you can see, it is starting to thicken up, and it's got a nice little simmer. Now we're going to toss in our cheese. So we're adding both of those blocks of cheese. You don't have to do this much cheese if you don't want to, but I promise it's worth it. You could also toss in some other cheeses if you wanted to. If you wanted to add in like a Gruyere, if you wanted to add in Monterey Jack, whatever you want to add in there. We're just sticking to an aged white cheddar today, but that's up to you. You could use, a yellow cheddar if that's what you prefer. My family always buys, I always buy the Cabot Vermont aged white cheddar. It's just got a nice bite to it, and it's really delicious. So this is now going to come down to medium heat to medium low heat, and we're going to add in some more seasoning. So first we're going to throw in a little bit of Lowry seasoned salt. I put this in pretty much everything. We're also going to toss in a little bit of garlic powder. Now the recipe does not call for any of this. This is just how I do it. I'm going to grind in some fresh black pepper, and we're also going to add in Worcestershire sauce. So I don't know, I would say probably about a teaspoon or so of Worcestershire, maybe a teaspoon and a half. Depends on how much you like that flavor. I like mine to be really flavorful. We're also going to add in just a touch of Himalayan pink salt. And now we're going to mix that all up together, and we're going to give it a taste. Always taste your food as you're cooking to decide if it needs more or, if it needs something else. And remember to go light when you're seasoning, especially at the beginning, until you really know how much you need in something, because you can always add more, but you can't take it out, especially with, salt. It's really hard to make food less salty once you've made it really salty. So keep an eye on that. Our pasta's done and ready to be drained. I'm using that strainer there. I got that at IKEA. It's a metal strainer. We're just going to strain our pasta, our elbow macaroni. And then I have a casserole dish here that I have sprayed with a little bit of Pam. And we're going to mix our pasta directly in our casserole dish just to make life easy and easier to clean up. You could mix your pasta and your cheese sauce in the big pasta, pot, but that would be a pain to have to clean. So we're just going to pour our cheese directly into our casserole dish right here with our macaroni. I can smell this through the camera. I'm editing this in the morning and man, I'm like, I think I need some mac and cheese for breakfast. You're just going to go ahead and give this a good stir. Make sure that all of your pasta is coated. You're going to feel like you have a lot of sauce. You know, the sauce to pasta ratio will feel like it's a little off. It is not. And that's because your pasta is going to absorb some of the fluid and the liquid from your cheese sauce. So make sure you really make your pasta al dente. Now we're going to top it with a little bit of panko. These are, just a type of breadcrumb for the top. They're really nice and crispy. And if you wanted to be a little extra bougie, which I typically do, but didn't feel like doing this day, you could toast up your panko breadcrumbs on the stove in some melted butter, season them up, and then add them to the top. Today we're going a little bit lazier. We're just adding the panko breadcrumbs to the top of our macaroni, and then we're going to add in some sliced pieces of butter, and that will just help, they'll get melty, and it'll just help to create a really yummy crust across the top of our mac and cheese. And that's how I like it. I like those crusty bits. So if that's not for you, you can skip this part. Now toss it into the oven at 350 for 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, so our mac and cheese is in the oven, and I just took a minute to just clean up and load up the dishwasher and wash that pan and everything because I'm gonna use it again to pan fry my chicken. So for today's chicken, we're gonna be using thin sliced chicken. Now, you can purchase regular chicken breast that has not been trimmed, has not been sliced thin, and you can do it yourself. I just buy the thinly sliced chicken because then it's just already done, and I find that it's just easier that way. And we're gonna be using chicken breast. If chicken breast is not your jam, you can use whatever other kind of chicken you prefer, but that's what we're gonna be using today. We're going to be seasoning our chicken, and we're also gonna be seasoning our panko breadcrumbs. So for our chicken, I'm gonna be using this local beer can chicken rub that I have, and then I'm also going to be using some Lowry seasoned salt for the breadcrumbs. And we're going to make our 3 stations to pan fry chicken. So you're gonna have one that's got flour, one that has egg, and one that has your breadcrumbs. And what I'm going to do, this is something that I do for myself. It might be different for you, but I am just going to dip all of my chicken breast in the breading, and then I'm gonna put it on this cookie sheet so that way it's all ready to go for when I go over to the stove to actually start pan frying it. So right now I'm gonna get the vegetable oil in the pan so that can start warming up while I bread my chicken, and then we'll get that going. By the time we're done with that, we should be ready to pull out that mac and cheese and just whip our salad together really quickly, and then we can eat. I am so excited. I'm so flippin' hungry. I can't wait. First things first, for making our chicken cutlets, we're gonna need to make a dredge station. So we're gonna get started with 3 containers, and we're gonna put eggs in one. I think I usually do 3 to 4 eggs, and then you will just stir them up and give them a good little whisk, and that's what you're gonna be using as your middle coat on your chicken. So this is gonna help make your breadcrumbs stick to your chicken really nice and well and coated. So that's our first part of our dredging station. Next up is the flour. So for this, I usually do, a couple of scoops. I'm using 1/3 cup there. It really doesn't matter how much you use. This is just going to be to coat your chicken. So just put enough in there to give you a good little layer across the bottom of your dish. And again, that'll be, just to coat your chicken and dry it off. And then in your last little container there, you're gonna add your breadcrumbs. Now you can do regular breadcrumbs. For me, I'm using panko. I like the extra crispiness that this adds. So it's up to you and how you wanna do it, but that's what we like. And then you want to season up your breadcrumbs. I just used a little bit of Lowry's right there. And then we're also going to be seasoning our chicken. So, you know, that's up to you on how you want to season your chicken. We're going to be using a dry rub on our chicken today that I buy at a local farmer's market. Could not think of the word. And we're going to start our dredging station. So I've got a cookie sheet there to the side, and that's where I'm going to put the chicken that I've already dredged. I'm going to just pile it onto that cookie sheet so it's all ready, and I can just get the pan frying going, and I just have it, you know, readily available. You could dredge your chicken as you go, but I find this to be the most efficient process. So while I'm dredging my chicken over here, I also have my oil heating up on the stove. You want to let your oil heat up, you know, nice and hot before you start frying your chicken. Otherwise, it just gets too oily and it doesn't cook properly. So I just seasoned up my chicken there with a little bit of the seasoning, and now we're going to start our dredging. So there's lots of different ways that you can dredge. You don't have to do it this way. You could do it with your hands. You could do it in a big bowl. It's completely up to you, but this is how I do it. So I just grab a piece of chicken with my tongs. I put it into the flour to get it nice and dry. Then you put it into the egg, coat it with the egg, and then you dip it right into your breadcrumbs so that they're, you know, ready to go into the oil. And you'll just do this repeatedly until you get all of your pieces of chicken done, and then it'll be time, hopefully, for your oil to be nice and hot and to get to frying. All right, we're ready to go ahead and start pan frying our chicken. So one way to check your oil before you start is to toss a little bit of, like a little piece of the breadcrumb or a little piece of salt into the oil and see if it bubbles and sizzles. If it does, your oil's ready. If it doesn't, don't put it in. I also cook mine at just above medium heat. So, you know, more towards high, but definitely not, you know, way up there. And you're just going to constantly check it. I cover mine with this oil splatter guard. I got this at the Dollar Tree. I have 2 of them. It just kind of sits over your pan like this and helps to reduce the amount of oil splatter. But if you cook it low enough, it won't splatter a ton. But just keep your eye on them and flip them when they've started to turn a nice golden brown. Should take maybe 4 to 5 minutes per side. And I use these metal tongs that I also purchased at the Dollar Tree. These are nice for, you know, going into the hot oil. If you use any kind of plastic tongs, you're going to melt them. I've made that mistake before, so invest in a pair of metal tongs like this. And once both sides are nice and golden brown, you're going to go ahead and take them out. These do cook fairly quickly because they're nice and thin, so it shouldn't take you too long. But then you'll just go ahead and go on to the next batch of chicken. Usually I can fit about 3 chicken slices in this large skillet pan here. Okay, so now that our chicken is frying up, we're gonna go ahead and get our salad going. Now for today's salad, I'm gonna do a quick little Caesar salad. However, you can just do a house salad. A lot of times I will just cut up a little bit of cucumber, some tomato, toss in a few croutons. My kids will eat any salad as long as it has croutons on it. That is always my my secret trick. Sometimes I'll use the Olive Garden Italian dressing. That is a fan favorite here in my house. Sometimes we use ranch, sometimes we use Thousand Island. For tonight, we're gonna do some Caesar salad. And I'm gonna be using the Marie Callender's Caesar salad dressing. That is hands down my favorite. I am a huge fan of the Marie Callender's dressings, except for the Italian, which I always use the Olive Garden one. So we're gonna go ahead and get that whipped up really quickly. After this next batch of chicken, we should only have one more to go, and then we'll be ready to eat. I can smell that mac and cheese. It's probably almost ready to come out, and I'm so excited. To make salad making easy, you can pre-cut up your lettuce and have it just ready to go for the week. That just makes it so easy to pull together a quick salad at dinner. So I'm just adding in some cut up romaine hearts here, and we're using the Marie Callender's Caesar dressing. This is my favorite. You can find others. There's plenty of delicious Caesar dressings out there, but this one is so creamy. My whole family loves it. So just giving our salad a good toss here, making sure that the lettuce is nice and coated. And then for a quick and easy Caesar salad, all you have to do is add in a bit of Parmesan cheese. You could use the kind that comes in the jar, but we're going to use some fresh grated Parmesan cheese today. This is just a Parmesan wedge that you can purchase at your grocery store, usually over in like the nicer cheese area. They last a long time, so don't be surprised by the price. Just go ahead and grate a little bit of that on there. I'm using a zester here just to make it nice and easy. And then we're also going to toss in your favorite crouton, whatever works for you, and your salad is done. You could add some chicken and make this a whole meal, but this is an easy way to add in a salad with your dinner. Okay, so now that our salad is done, I'm gonna go turn the oven on to broil to just kind of brown up the top of our mac and cheese, get us a little bit of crusty bits on there. Those are our favorite. And then we're gonna plate up our chicken, and it's gonna be time to eat. Okay, my friends, we are done with today's meal. I cannot wait to eat this. In fact, let's take a bite now. Some people are middle of the casserole, middle of the brownie, middle of the cinnamon roll kind of people. I am not one of those people. I'm one of these people. Give me this crusty bit on the side right here, and I am a happy gal. Let's take a bite. It's cheesy, it's crunchy, it's extremely savory and delicious. I cannot wait to eat this whole thing. I'm gonna go sit down and devour this and invite my family in to enjoy it as well. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed another Cook With Me. These Foodie Fridays are seriously so much fun. They're so much fun to film, they're so much fun to eat, and I hope that you are enjoying them as well. Until the next one, my friends, happy eating. I'll see you next time.